I'm not sure I'm ready for a relationship, that is a giant red flag. They are telling you today, I am going to hurt you. In case you didn't hear, I am going to hurt you. They're telling you to your face that you are going to get your heart broken here.
Welcome to the show, Matt.
I'm very honored to be back a third time.
Well, I'm so freaking glad to have you on today. Very specifically, today I want to talk to you about commitment, because the one thing that I'm finding from a lot of women that I'm hearing is, how do I get him to commit? Or I'm not sure if he's willing to commit, or I don't know if he's the right person, and do I commit to him if he's not committing to me first? So I really want to go down the commitment avenue of, and let's just start with, why is it that people struggle, do you think, with commitment, especially in today's society?
Well, when it comes to struggling with the very notion of committing, social media has exacerbated and magnified the ego, the needs we have, the need for attention, the need for connection, we're seeing all of these things. And in a sense, the same is true of dating apps. What dating apps do, and what the choice problem does, is it interrupts the normal kind of attraction circuitry. So if we go on a date back in the day, before any of this was a possibility, it probably would have been more difficult to get that date. Right. Some people today would say, well, it's probably easier because now I talk to all these people on apps and it never even turns into a date. So there's that. But in order to get on a date back in the day, you had to do something brave, right? And because you were brave, you kind of valued it differently. You know, when you do a brave thing, and because you did a brave thing, you value it. I went over there and I spoke to that person, and he or she liked me and said yes. What are the chances? They said yes, and we ended up exchanging numbers, and then someone had to call. They couldn't even text. They had to call. They had to call and say, do you want to go on a date? That takes bravery. It takes effort. Yeah. And then you got on the date, which already you value more because effort had to go into getting the date. And now after the date, what happens? It's effort to get another date, right? So you're probably actually just appreciative of the date you have, and you're looking forward to the next time you see that person. So now what you have is a very, very important part of attraction is anticipation. There's a dark and negative side to the fantasizing about someone, which is all the projection we do and attributing wonderful qualities to them we don't even know they have yet, and that makes everything too high stakes too soon, makes us fall in love too quickly. But it also has a bright side, which is when we're away from someone and we're investing in them through our thoughts, even if it's not visible to them, we're investing psychologically in the situation. What could it be? We're replaying the date. Oh, wasn't it really fun when that happened? Oh, I really like that thing they said. Oh, I can't wait to see them again. Oh, I'm a little nervous about seeing them again. We have all of that. That creates a kind of attraction narrative, an attraction plot line that plays out. Well, compare that with now. You go on a dating app, you're talking not just to one person, most likely, you're talking to multiple people. Imagine trying to watch 5 movies at the same time and enjoying any one of them. It doesn't matter how great any of the movies are. You're watching 5 at the same time. If you've got 5 screens in front of you at the same time, you're watching movies like people watch sports in a sports bar where there's baseball and there's football and there's basketball and you're not deeply invested in any one game. You're not in it. You're being spread amongst all these multiple plot lines. So it's harder to get invested. Now you go on a date, right? At the end of that date, we get home, and what do? Within seconds, we open up our phone, we go straight to the app that got us the date in the first place, and we see what else is going on. Who else has messaged me? And you're into not only another attraction plot line, but you've had the one that you were in disrupted. That could be a positive thing in the sense of not getting us too invested too quickly in one person, but it can also, the dark side of it is that we never really get invested in anybody.
Wow, I love that you point out the dark and the light. That's really powerful. And you're 100% right. It's just easy, right, to flip through people. It's like, oh, maybe there's someone else, maybe there's someone else, maybe there's someone else. But with Tom and I, it's like we were dating cross country. So it was like you had to plan the time that you were going to speak on the phone. And that commitment to each other was very evident almost from the start, because we either showed the commitment in our actions or we didn't. So to me, that was a great sign that, oh, he's willing to commit to this like I am.
We value what we invest in. We want to know what's valuable so that we can invest in it, but it also works the other way round. You are investing in something, and the more you invest in it, the more you care about it. But if you never invest in anything, it's the same as a job. You really, the career you sculpt for yourself, that you really work on and you really make your own, you end up caring about it because you've invested in it.
That's so true. So then how do you navigate when someone is, let's say I'm in a relationship and I'm looking to commit, I'm putting the time and effort and energy, like you said, I'm really nurturing it, but the other person isn't doing the same. How do you approach the commitment discussion from the get-go and know whether you should invest? Because sometimes is there really even a should or shouldn't? Because so many women that I personally know have gone into, okay, I'm going to commit to this person. They've poured themselves in it, but they're not getting it reciprocated back. And so now what ends up happening is, because of their past, they are now afraid to commit, not because they don't want to commit, but because they're afraid to, because they've given it so much before and it wasn't reciprocated.
We have to look at our own patterns and say, what happened before that led me to so much pain? Because I'm associating this pain with the idea of me giving a lot. But maybe this pain has been misattributed. Maybe this pain is not the result of me having given a lot. The pain is the result of me having ignored a lot of what I wasn't getting. The giving part of me is one of the most beautiful parts of me. I always think when we leave a relationship where it didn't pan out, but we threw ourselves in and gave our all, we get to see the best side of ourselves in a way. We get to see what we can be when we really show up. That should actually give us some confidence, knowing that, God, I gave it to the wrong person maybe, but that's who I can be.
And people don't do that though, right? They beat themselves up. You're like, I can't believe I gave myself over. Why did I do it? And it almost has the opposite. At least for me, I didn't see it as being beautiful. I just told myself, you're so stupid, Lisa. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And two things are important. One is to take the beauty in what you gave and know that in the right hands, that remains a beautiful thing. But to really seek to understand, what was I ignoring? And why was I ignoring it? What was going on with me that I was ignoring it? Not to beat myself up. I really don't believe in that. Don't say, I can't believe I didn't do this before. I'm so stupid. Say, I wish, it would have been nice if I'd had this information then, but I'm a different person now. And that's where change comes from, is that I'm legitimately a different person than I was when I was making those decisions before. The danger is if we say giving equals pain. No, giving doesn't equal pain. Ignoring things, ignoring the fact that I'm giving to the wrong person equals pain. And therefore, being more practical or measured or conscious about who I give my energy to is really the better frame that I need to have, the better paradigm I need to have going forward. Now, you could look at that practically in the context of your original question, which is, how do you know who to give to, and what if you're not getting it back? You can apply a practical model in terms of time. You could say to yourself, what amount of time am I willing to lose? If I really believe in this and I believe in this person, what amount of time am I willing to lose? Am I willing to give for a month or for 2 months and to see where this can go if I really give my all? In which case, fine, let me put a 2-month cap on it. But let me not reevaluate that at the end of 2 months and go, well, maybe I'll give it another 6.
That's what I was going to say. People may move the goalpost.
Right. And so that's why time isn't the only factor, because if you just said, I'm going to give relentlessly for 2 months, then it gives you an excuse not to pay attention to what you're getting in return. Unconditional love doesn't isn't real in the context of romantic relationships. It's just not. We want to believe it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Romantic relationships are conditional because who would want to be in a relationship long term with someone who never gave back? A relationship can't be unconditional love because you're choosing to enter into an agreement with someone about us being together, us spending time together, us having an effect on each other's energy, on how we spend our time, and I'm going to give to you. And there's an opportunity cost to that because it means I can't give to somebody else. And therefore I need a genuine teammate. And so I need to assess in the moment, is this person acting like a teammate, or is this person just taking? Is this person just using me because they want some validation at this point in their life? Am I just a brief chapter for them, but I'm actually investing in this as if it's going somewhere? Those are the kinds of questions we have to ask ourselves and them. We have to be brave enough to ask questions of somebody that may have answers we fear.
Right.
Most people are afraid to ask the questions that may contain answers they're not ready to handle. And so what they say is, I'm just seeing what it is. I'm just going with the flow. And that becomes really a euphemism for I'm scared to ask a question. I'm afraid to talk about that because I'm afraid I'll get an answer I don't want, or I'm afraid I'll get an answer or I'm afraid that me asking the question is going to scare someone away.
Right.
But if it's going so well, how are you going to scare someone away that easily? How is that going to scare them away if it's going well? It can only scare away the wrong person. It can't scare away the right person.
So true.
Well, the thing I've been working on for years with people is both the theoretical side, the philosophical side, and the practical side of all of this. Because people will say, okay, so I need to go and have the conversation. So how do I have the conversation? What does it mean to have the conversation? Now we're into the language of it, not just the theory. And that's really important. If you wanted to learn to public speak, there would be a philosophical element of what mindset should you have when you go on stage. But there's also a very practical element of how do you structure a great speech?
What are the actual words that come out of my mouth? Should you then, vocalize, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a committed relationship. Are you willing, or is that too harsh?
Well, everything is about timing. And in the beginning of dating, you don't have to say, are we leading to a committed relationship? Because on date 2, that is going to freak someone out, most likely. But if someone told you 3 or 4 weeks in, I don't want a relationship, you're more than within your rights to say, I am very much in a place in my life where casual fun is not exciting to me. What's exciting to me is actually creating something more meaningful, like a real connection with someone. And I don't need you to decide next week to be in a committed relationship with me. We're still getting to know each other. I don't even know you well enough to necessarily know that right now. But if you're not even open to the prospect of something more, then I think I might need to redirect my energy somewhere else. That's strong. It's still compassionate. It's non-judgmental, because that's the place people go when they're angry or when they're afraid. Well, why aren't you looking for a committed relationship? Or, so you're just looking for a bit of fun? Or it's like, whoa, don't bring anger into it. Your game is not to worry about someone else. Your game is energy management for yourself. Because people burn out today in dating. There's a lot of what's, you can term dating burnout. People are tired of the apps. They're tired of dates that don't go anywhere. They're tired of, oh my God, I was texting someone for 3 months and then nothing even came of it. I'm so sick of this. But people burn out when they use their energy in ways that burn it too quickly, or when they invest too much in something that isn't actually going anywhere, or when they have long, protracted pseudo relationships with someone who doesn't actually want the same thing, but they get stuck in limbo with that person. That's poor energy management. What I want to do is always be aware, I have a limited amount of energy. Not everyone can have it. And my heart isn't something I give, it's a house that I invite people into. Right? I don't just give my heart. It's a place. And I don't just let any old stranger, because they seem attractive, come and just live in the house. So that early stage is really about there's almost my brother has this phrase. My brother Steve Hussey is a writer for us. He has invest and test. Give a little, see how someone responds to that. If they respond positively and if they give a little back, that's wonderful. It's like texting someone in the morning. You text someone in the morning and say, I hope you're having a great day, handsome. You know, how's your morning so far? That's wonderful. It's beautiful. You don't need to sit there and go, would Matthew Hussey tell me to text him this morning or should I not?
Yeah, just be authentic.
Just be you.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, maybe see if they reach out to you in the morning. Or even if you did it the last 2 days, see if on the third day they do it. But people will come to me and say, I think they like me. You know, every time I text them, they respond. When I ask them out, they say yes. Okay, but what happens if you don't? What happens if you're not the one doing the work? Do they then step in to fill that space? Is it a dance? Or is it just you always walking over to meet them where they are? That's the dangerous part. You have to be brave enough to step in sometimes, but you also have to be brave enough to step back and see if they step in. And that's what a lot of people just don't do. They give and they give and they give, and they're not discerning about whether someone's meeting them at that level of energy.
I think, yeah, because it's just really hard to feel rejected, right? So I think that comes part of it. Is like, if you step back, you are now leaving space to be hurt. Because if they don't come towards you, that hurts, right? That you can get in your own head that I'm not good enough, or whatever narrative you're telling yourself. So I actually get why that is difficult, but I totally understand that it is necessary, because if you don't, then you're always stepping in and being the one that's giving and not receiving.
And there's some people that never step in. So they have the opposite problem. They're so defensive and their walls are so up that they never actually take the brave step of stepping in and letting someone know that they like them, or letting them know that they would like to see them again.
Right.
You know, because they're so afraid that if I do that, I can be rejected. So I'm going to make it so that someone can't even reject me. But that's, you know, then we're not getting results for the opposite reason. If we step in all the time and never give someone space, we lose someone's respect. If we never step in, then someone can't even get close enough to find out how amazing we are. So we go around saying no one ever likes me or nothing ever happens for me, but you're never actually giving someone enough of yourself for them to get invested. They're just seeing you from the outside.
So true. I like that you said that, you know, when we just need to look back at our own behaviors and where are the things that we did, where are the flags that we ignored. Like, that's so powerful, like taking ownership to say, how can I not make the same mistake next time? Should we worry about our partner's past and their level of commitment in their past relationships? So let's say I've done all the work myself, I've assessed how I've gotten into a habit of maybe committing more than my partner, or wanting commitment and not receiving it. I've done all the work. Now when I make the selection, because, you know, I think selection really matters, when I make the selection to go on a date or to be with somebody, how much does their past influence who they're going to show up as, and how much should I worry about that? Because one of the phrases, while scary, I do think it's true. If they do it for you, they'll do it to you. And so worrying that if somebody, let's say, has left a partner for you or something like that, how much do you have to worry about that, their level of commitment in past relationships?
Tricky question. There is a difference, I think, between someone who comes to you already showing evidence of having shifted gears from their past, and someone who, in a sense, the very behaviors of the past you're worried about are actually baked into the beginning of the relationship. Because they're with you because they cheated on their wife or their boyfriend or whatever in order to be with you. That is harder. Someone's going to have a much harder job convincing you that that behavior is in the past for them, when the very way that the relationship started is a reflection of that behavior. So I do think there's a distinction to be made. If someone has had a past, but they're saying, you know, I've met you under different circumstances, and if you see that someone is acknowledging their past. If you see that they are taking ownership for their past, and that therefore you're able to see a true evolution there, even just in the way that they're owning it. Now, it's not an easy task. The job of anybody who has a past is to speak well about the changes that have occurred in them and why they've occurred, and to then back those claims up with real action. There's a character is consistent. Character is something that you see in people's actions every day. It's not in a grand gesture. It's what behavior am I seeing from this person every day? It doesn't really matter if someone's telling you they've changed. All that matters is what your actual experience of that person is. Am I experiencing a person who really, what I'm seeing fits with what they're telling me? And it's human to have insecurity about a pattern that someone has had.
I love that. One of my favorite things is a reputation isn't built or shattered over one thing. A reputation becomes something that you do consistently one way or another. So if someone ends up having a reputation with me of being non-committal, there's a reason for it.
And that person, it's not incumbent on our partners to suddenly have to reverse an opinion based on something we've done. I did this, but now I'm sorry, so now clean slate time. I have to. Life's not like that. We owe that person the space to, hey, look, I'm different. I know I'm different. I'm asking for you to give me space to show you that I'm different, but I don't expect you to believe in every aspect of that before you've seen it. Therefore, I'm not asking you right now to brainwash yourself into not being worried about this. I'm asking for the space to prove that what I'm saying is real. And that's, in a way, the most we can ask for, is the space to show them something different. Not that I expect you to be able to do some sort of Men in Black device.
And you don't forget.
Yeah, no, that's not real life. And it's a loving and compassionate act on behalf of the person with the past is to understand that and to say, you don't need to believe me, just give me space to show you.
What if you don't know if someone's got a growth mindset yet or not, and you start talking to someone about their past, and they say, well, it was my girlfriend, she was this, she was that. How do you know in those moments if he's actually seeing the situation correctly, or she, I shouldn't just say he, that they are seeing the situation correctly, or that they're not telling it with complete blinders over their eyes? Because you'd like to believe if someone says, well, look, this person was pressuring me and I actually wasn't honest, I wasn't ready for a commitment, I told her I wasn't ready for a commitment, and yet she just kept going, and so that's why we broke up. All right, if you told me that story, I'd be like, oh my God, I totally get it. I can't believe she tried to change you, right? That would be my instinct. But how do I actually know in those moments if it's true, or if it's just his own blindness to the situation?
Yeah. We have to be aware that when someone comes to us, they are giving us their version of events, and we can't necessarily know if what they're saying is the truth of the matter or how blind they are. Sometimes people are lying, and sometimes they've blinded themselves to the reality of a situation.
I think a lot of the time we do.
I think for our emotional survival, we
right.
do that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that we can still feel like the good person in life. So we can escape our own self-loathing. Yeah. So we compartmentalize and we do all of those things. I can't stress this enough. Look, on a first date, your job is not to be a human lie detector. Yeah. Your job is to see if what they're saying aligns with the kind of person you're seeing in front of you. They are playing they say they're so kind and generous and whatever, but they're being mean to this poor waiter that's coming over and being short with them and haven't got the time of day to even look them in the eye. And it's like, well, okay, your generosity isn't coming out in this moment. So you see a disconnect. Okay, I'm going to pay attention to that. I'm not going to ignore that. Maybe I'm not going to judge it too harshly, but I'm also not going to ignore that. So that's one thing. But over time, we have to pay attention to situations where something just feels wrong, where we are noticing that even though this person is saying all of these things, they're saying the right things and they're making us feel a certain way in the conversation, but then actually the behavior you're noticing and the way you're feeling most of the time is really not good. We lose trust in ourselves in life. We doubt ourselves. We say, maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just my insecurity. Maybe I'm being too difficult about this. And I think that's an argument for having people you trust around you who are willing to give you honest opinions on things. I think there's a real argument for that, whether they come in the form of mentors or friends or it could be parents that just will give you the honest truth, not a biased truth, but will look at a situation and be like, that the fact that this person is doing this is not okay. It actually is. You're right to feel like this isn't okay behavior, or that this feels disrespectful. It sounds like it is disrespectful. You need people around you who you can trust. But when you have people around you can trust, this is really important. You have to give them the honest facts of the story.
So true.
You can't do the thing. You can't go to, it's like going to a therapist and creating your own echo chamber with a therapist because you tell them all of the shitty things that the person you're dating is doing, but you don't tell them the crazy thing you did 2 days ago. You don't tell them, you leave out the message that started the whole conversation where you asked a question and said all of this stuff and accused them of this, and you're like, and so now your friend, your therapist, your parent, your whoever is saying, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they said that. But you're leaving out details that allow them to have an objective situation. And so when you're worried that you're being disrespected or lied to, or that you should be wary, that someone could be conning you, firstly, listen to your own gut. But if you're finding it difficult to trust your gut because you're too close to the situation, and that happens to all of us at times in our life, make sure when you go to other people that you're not now doing a con mission on them. Be prepared to put all of your crazy on the table. All of the things that you're like, I can't tell them that. I always think to myself, when you have a good enough friend or therapist or whoever, you have to be willing to tell them the thing that you really want to leave out. What's the thing you're like, I want to have this conversation, but I don't want to say this part. That's usually the part that will give you the most relief by saying.
And clarity, I think.
Yes.
I love that so much. Also, how you say it, because you may repeat a story to your friends and you're not necessarily lying, but you don't say that you were a bitch when you said it. You said it harshly and you stared them in the eye with your, whites of your eyes showing.
Yeah, you could go. So I said to them, listen, if this isn't going somewhere, let's just call it a day.
Yeah.
But in reality, you were up in that person's face going, listen,
right.
If this, and you're like, you pass in a story, you go, so I just threw it out there.
I so love that you said that, because here's the thing, while I laugh, it's like we do this and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but your point being is that we have to address, if we really want to get to the root, if we want to improve, if we want to get in these relationships where we're not, let's say, spending years and then realizing, oh my God, they're not committed. Now I've just potentially wasted this time, is open your eyes, be honest, be that real with yourself about how you're acting. And then if you're saying it to a friend, be real, because what is your goal? Like, that's always I come back to, right?
Am I going to my friend for an answer or am I going for validation?
Yes.
And if you're going to your friend for validation, you ain't growing out of that situation, and it's not coming closer to what you really want it to be. I mean, we can literally, this is the really dangerous thing, we can literally go to our friends and family and engineer the answers we want. Mm-hmm. We're really good at it. If I can have clients who really want to text a guy back deep down, this guy's been treating them poorly or basically been non-existent, but they really want to send him a message. And so, I was speaking with a client recently who, the guy said in the context of going on another date, yeah, it'd be nice, we'll see. Not an interesting text.
No.
Like, okay, well, now let's redirect our attention. But she found a friend who looked at that message and decided it was a flirtatious message on his part. Like, as in he was saying, we'll see, give me a reason to. And so she was like, so I realized, oh, he was trying to be flirtatious. So I texted him back, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a jump, but it's a jump that you've enabled for yourself by, you've looked for the one friend that tells you the thing you want to hear, that this wasn't in fact a weak, boring, non-committal message from someone who wasn't ready, didn't want to commit to another date. This was a guy flirting with you, and you should have flirted back, and now you need to text him back. And it's like, we'll always look for justification for the thing that we want to do anyway.
Right, confirmation bias, right?
Instead of looking for the answer that's actually going to make us happier.
But I get why, like, it can be so crippling. Like, even as you're breaking it down, it's like, well, no wonder people fear making a move in the first place, because they're like, is it too much? Is it too little? Am I on it? Do I, like, it can be somewhat overwhelming where you get in your own head too much. Where you're
That's the
trying to
danger.
decipher, because texting is very difficult to decipher someone's tone, for sure. And even with Tom and I, when we first started Quest, he was so freaking busy. Actually, sorry, before Quest, it was when I was a stay-at-home wife and he was at work all day, every day, just chasing money. That was like just try and get as much money as possible so we can make movies. And he was miserable. He was doing it for 8 years. He freaking hated it, and he was busy all the time. And so it got to the point where I was miserable, he was miserable, and when I would text him, I would get like, hey, dinner's ready at this time or whatever. I would text him, and he put K, the letter K. Now, I know he's stressed, and I'm stressed. I know he loves me and I love him, but that wasn't going to fly with me, because I was like, I'm sacrificing so fucking much by not being with you, not spending time with you, giving you so much space that you can go off and be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to support you. But there's a line. And I was like, babe, this is the line. I'm your wife. Because he's like, well, it's just quickly. Like, he's in a rush. Like, so he just, and I'm like, I just need the O. Just give me the O. And so he was like, all right. So now he texts okay. And I'm like, that's all I need. But K to me, no matter how you shake it or bake it, interprets it as I'm a bother to you.
Yeah.
Okay doesn't.
That's funny. But what determines, there's two things that determine the strength of the relationship in that moment. One is the way you bring it up, and the other is the way that it's received. When you're able to bring it up, and it's not easy. It takes confidence, and it takes a standard for how we communicate. We have to have a standard for how we communicate, because otherwise our demons take over. And you got the message, you got K, and now you stew, and it's like, now I'm passively aggressive, and when they get home, I'm cold, but we spend a whole dinner not knowing why. And, at the end of dinner, someone's like, what is wrong? And you're like, nothing. No progress can be made here.
I'm laughing because it's so true. You've just shown for the last 2 hours that you're pissed, and then they ask, and it's like, nothing.
Right. And you've both had to it feels like wasted time, because it's like we could have been building right now. Instead, we've just been treading water and burning energy. And when you can say, babe, here's the thing, you send me K, and I'm doing all of this, and I feel like, I hope you agree, I'm making a lot of sacrifices, and I'm doing a lot, and so on. And at the end of the night, when I'm looking forward to seeing you, and you just write one letter in response to that really isn't a nice feeling. And it's not about throwing in someone's face at that point. All of the things you're doing is about saying, look, because I hope you agree. I'm doing all of these things, and I love doing those things for you. And I love making those sacrifices because it matters to me. But when you do that, it feels disrespectful. Now you get to see what the relationship can be. Because if you can bring a beautiful frame of reference in the way that you communicate something, and then someone else says, oh my God, you're making such a big deal out of this. It's like, oof, okay. Well, it took some effort to phrase this compassionately. And it took some effort to not let my demons take over. And it took some effort to be this vulnerable with you. And you've met it by making me feel like an asshole, or making me feel insecure, or making me feel crazy, or That's an issue. That's an issue. And now a new issue has to be addressed.
Yeah.
Baby, the way you're answering me right now is newly hurtful because when you sent me that K, I was actually hurt. And I wanted to bring it up kindly to you and lovingly. And I feel like I'm not getting a loving response in return. Now you see what response you get to that.
Yeah.
And now you see if this is a relationship that can make progress. All of these moments where you have friction are absolutely necessary. They're wonderful because they give you a moment to put another brick in the house of the relationship. Because we're going to have this conversation. It's going to be great. It's going to make us stronger. That's awesome. I always think that if for anyone who has anxiety about arguments in a relationship, oh my God, this argument's going to hurt us. How do I'm worried about it. I want to take it back. I've had that anxiety in the past. I'm like, that feeling of self-hatred where I would give anything to take that argument back. And then it causes you anxiety. Why did I do that? I am so proud in my relationship of the arguments that have happened that have enabled us to get closer. Yeah. That actually it would have been very hard for us to get as close without those arguments. It's a really important thing to remember. So every time there's a moment where someone sends you the K, whatever form it comes in, see this is a wonderful opportunity to see what kind of relationship I actually have. Do I have the kind of relationship I really think I have? Or is it going to be revealed to be something else? That's a great moment to know that.
But in those moments, it does become tricky because, in hindsight, it's always easy to say, oh, we dealt with it like this and we said it like this. But no. In those moments, in that moment, I felt so right. I'm like, who the fuck sends K to their wife? Right? Like in my head, I feel so justified. I'm like, there's no universe where a guy thinks sending K to his wife is a sweet and charming thing to do. Yeah. But I remind myself, there is no right or wrong. There literally is no right or wrong. If I know that he loves me, so do I think that he's doing it on purpose? No. So we just have a difference of an opinion. So in those moments, I want to come in and be like, hey, do you think I can't believe you don't even put the O. But it's like, no, he's got a different perspective on it. So instead of saying, I can't believe you don't do the O, I come and say, this is how I feel. And I don't think that that's good. So I'd like to request just the extra O. Because I knew that I was like, look, I'm not expecting a long line. I understand your position, right? So I understand where you come from. Yeah. I understand why you do
empathy,
it.
It's compassion.
There's no malice there. I don't feel like it's malice, but it does come across this and being able to have that conversation like that.
And look, let's say that you didn't do it in a different world where you did go and just yell at him because of that situation. That's okay too, because you can recover at any point. It's never too late to come to someone with compassion and vulnerability. If you'd have done that, how dare you send me a K when I'm doing all of these things for you, whatever. You can always you come back to it later that night and you say, listen, I got angry because I was just actually quite hurt. I felt like I do love doing all of these things for you. And it makes me feel good to do them. But then I got scared when I felt like they weren't being valued. And when you said K, it made me feel like we were in an uneven situation, in an uneven relationship where I'm doing all of these things, but I wouldn't be able to expect the same from you in return or the same level of respect in return. And that may not be true. That's always a good line. I might be reading that completely wrong, but I wanted you to know that that's where that came from me. I stand by what I said about, wanting more than that when you respond. But the way I reached out, I'm not proud. The way I said that, I'm not proud of. But I wanted you to know where it was coming from. Every second that goes by is just another moment to show who you are, how much you love someone, what your boundaries are, what you believe in, what kind of relationship you want to create. But every time we're hung up on a mistake we've made or something someone else has done or whatever, we're not living in the moment of what can be made beautiful now.
I love that. And when it comes to relationships and when it comes to making the right selection, because I do think, kind of going back to what we were saying about if someone doesn't have a growth mindset, if they can't have these conversations, then sometimes it becomes, you know, a dead end. So when it comes to selection and you're choosing somebody to be with, how do you know if it's them, and the timing, or if it's you and them together?
I've come to believe that timing is pretty paramount to these things. There's wiggle room in there. You can be kind of ready, thinking, you know, your life has shifted, and you meet someone who pushes you over the edge, and you go, wow, okay, you know, and you evolve, you have a growth spurt a little quicker than you would have had if you hadn't met them. I don't have too much faith in relationships where the timing is horrible and someone is absolutely not ready, and someone is adamant against a relationship, and someone comes along to change their mind.
And you don't think in those moments they should tell themselves, well, maybe it's just timing and I should stay with them? Because I think that becomes a lot like, oh, well, maybe in a year or two when the timing is right for them.
Well, firstly, you staying with them isn't going to make them more ready. In some ways, you stunt their development by staying with them. For a lot of people, it keeps them in that phase of not being able to work through the things they need to work through in order to become ready. Now, look, that's fine. If you're a certain age where you're just enjoying being with someone, and you're also willing to say, you know what, I'm happy to lose 3 years here. And I wouldn't see it as a loss, because I just love this person and we're having a great time. And if at the end of 3 years they're still not in a place where they're ready, I've got plenty of time to go and do the things I want to do.
Do you think people actually say that, or do you think like, oh, it was 3 years, and in 3 years you're like, but I've spent this long.
This is called the sunk cost bias, or the sunk cost fallacy.
Right, pot committed.
Yeah, when we keep throwing good time after bad. The fallacy is that because I've invested this much time and energy, I now have to make it work. That is the easiest way to throw away your life. You mustn't. I can't stress this enough. People must not do this. You have to assume that what someone's telling you about what they want is the reality. If they're telling you they don't want to get married, or if they're telling you they don't want kids, or if they're telling you that they still want to play the field, you have to take that at face value. It doesn't matter how much you want the thing. It's not going to change because you want it more. Someone's not going to love you more because you love them more. It is a terrible, terrible wager that people make. People for whom it's the wrong time aren't even usually emotionally open enough to see the person in front of them for all that they are. You don't really know people, because you don't really get to know people on that level. If you're not serious, if you're not genuinely looking to build something amazing, you can have a connection, you can have chemistry, you can even love a bunch of things about a person, but you're not as invested in knowing them, in their journey, in really building something deep together and uncovering more about each other and being curious about the deepest parts of them. You are closed off to a certain level of connection. So when you're with someone and you think they're in love with me, I'm in love with them, but they're just not ready, you're discounting the kind of relationship you would be in with them if they were a kind of person that was ready. It would be different to the one you're in right now. You're convinced this is a relationship that has the depth you're looking for. But if you're with someone who's not ready, they're holding a piece of themselves back still that you don't even know they're holding back, that you can't even feel they're holding back, because it's not visible and you can't know what they haven't shown you yet. I really believe that we should, if for anyone out there who is looking for a real relationship, you should prize meeting someone. I'm not saying go into every first date asking what are you looking for, But I am.
Really? You wouldn't? I think I just naturally, I
Well, you
think I
could-
would have.
Well, you can actually say that everything's tone.
Yeah.
If you can say it in a very conversational way, like, how's your experience on the apps? I don't know what you're looking for. Like, are you someone who's on the apps because you're excited about meeting someone special, or are you just
Right.
having fun?
Yeah.
Like, you almost, when you're throwing out a serious question, you don't have to say it in a really serious way. You can ask a serious question in a casual way. Sometimes that's even nice from the point of view of, I want you to answer honestly. So I actually want you to be relaxed. And I want you to not feel like there's pressure in your answer. Maybe I don't even necessarily want you to know that there's a right answer right now. I just want you to talk to me. Just tell me about yourself. So it's not, I don't think you can't ask. I'm just, it's not about, you don't have to put someone on interrogation
Sure.
in that first date. But I do think that we should be looking for someone that we know is actually open to a real relationship. And anyone else, it's a waste of time. But Matt, I met someone and they weren't ready and blah, blah, blah. And now they are and we're together and whatever. Good for you. That's great. You're the exception. Because for every one of you, I can list 20 people who staked their time and their lives on someone changing, and that person didn't change. Now, there's lots of nuance in this. If someone tells you, I'm not sure I'm ready, then you have to do some calculations. You have to say, okay, I like this person. They're saying they're not sure I'm ready. That's an immediate giant red flag. It's not them saying, by the way, I'm not sure I know you well enough yet. That's fine. Let's get to know each other better then.
Yeah.
If they're saying, I'm not sure I'm ready for a relationship, that is a giant red flag. They are telling you today, I am going to hurt you. In case you didn't hear, I am going to hurt you. They're telling you to your face that you are going to get your heart broken here. So you have to make a decision with that. Do I want to continue to invest in someone who says they're not sure they're ready for a relationship? Do you really want to do that? Now, you may say if you're 25 and you're like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Then I'm just going to have fun and we'll see where this goes. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging that.
Right.
But if you find yourself at a stage in your life where you know you are ready for something real and you're excited about that, and you've got someone in front of you who isn't just assessing whether you're right for them, but is assessing whether a relationship is even exciting to them, why get into that situation? Why bother? Why spend the time? It's like someone on the street. It's hard enough to sell someone a car who wants a car because they have options, right? You want a car. Well, I'm in the Honda dealership. I'm trying to convince you that you want a Honda. Don't go to Ford. Hondas are great. This is going to last you forever and it's safe. And I'm going to take, don't go to, that's a hard enough job as it is. I'm already competing with every other car manufacturer in the world. And I'm not just competing with those, I'm competing with all the other dealers.
They sell the
I
same
need
cars.
my commission, exactly. But imagine walking up to someone on the street and trying to sell them a car when they don't even want a car. You're trying to sell them a Honda and they're going, but I don't want to drive. I'm not sure I even want to drive. I really like my bike. All your work is ahead of you just to get them to want a car. Now you've got to convince them to want a Honda.
And even that word that you said as well, by the way, convince, even that I would repeat to myself because I don't like how that would make me feel. If someone's with me, they should be with me because they want to, not because I've convinced them.
Yeah.
And even just that, even if I get the end goal of being with them, the path itself to get there is like night or day. It's like if they got there on their own, amazing, like Tom. But if I had to convince them
my
and give them
God.
every reason why they should be with me, and they finally do, I'm never going to be secure. There's always going to
For
be
sure.
that complete insecureness.
A relationship's hard enough when you're excited about one.
Right, yes.
When you want one, it's hard enough. And the journey of going from being more excited about being single or not just wanting the hassle of a relationship and enjoying being your own, the journey of that to, I'm really open to a relationship. That's something that feels right to me in my life now. That's not an easy shift. That takes time, and it takes growth, and it takes having lived a little and having explored things and realized what it is you really want in life. That's not like a quick little, I woke up this morning and wanted a relationship. It's a shift in the way that I'm thinking about life and what's fulfilling in life. You really want to take on the role of making that shift for someone else. And you want to stake your time on that. Love isn't enough. It's not. Compatibility is crucial. Love isn't enough. You need compatibility too. And people throw away their lives on this notion of loving someone so much. I just love them so much, I couldn't let them go. And they were willing to sacrifice their life, their happiness, their soul, eroding their confidence in the process, because when you're not true to yourself and you're not making yourself happy and your needs aren't being met, you start to hate yourself, you resent yourself, and you loathe yourself even more because you can't walk away, and now that makes you feel like you're not strong. Eroding your sense of joy in life, praying, hoping that one day your needs will be met. You are in a relationship with the person you are with today. Period. That's who you're in a relationship with. And assume that the relationship you're in right now is the relationship you're going to be in forever. And if that's not tenable for you, get out. Leave that relationship. The relationship will change and evolve. Sure, all relationships do. Esther Perel said, some people have multiple partners or have multiple relationships in their lives. Other people have multiple relationships, it's just with the same person, right? And that's true. Even if we're with the same person, we're going to have many different relationships with that person. But assuming that the relationship that evolves is going to fit the template that you want for somebody else, that's fantasy. Jacob M. Broad said, consider how hard it is to change yourself and you'll realize how foolish it is to expect that you can change somebody else. We wake up in January and most of us want to go to the gym. Most of us want to lose a few pounds. Most of us want to get in better shape. And 3 weeks later, we're eating pizza and doing the same things we've always done. Right? That's how hard it is to change. It's hard to change when we want to change more than anything in the world. It's hard to quit smoking when you know you're going to die from smoking. So what's this arrogance that we think that we're powerful enough to make someone quit smoking who doesn't even want to quit? That we're powerful enough to make someone want a relationship who doesn't even want a relationship. It's not that there's never a chance that it could go in your favor. It's that you would be a fool to stake your time on the idea that it will go in your favor. And life is so painfully, painfully short. How much time do we have? You're 33, you'll never get 33 back again. You get to be 33 once. The decade of your 40s, you get to do it once. You don't get to come back and do your 40s again. Time is so short. And there are people I love in this lifetime more than anything who I wish I could have got to sooner and given them this information sooner. I say this so forcefully because there's someone watching this interview right now whose life can actually be saved by hearing this right now instead of not hearing it. That's why I do what I do. I'm sure it's why you do what you do. You know in your heart that if you can be a new piece of input at the right moment in someone's life, that someone's watching this right now, they just chose to watch this YouTube video. They didn't know you or they didn't know me. They liked the title and they watched this YouTube video. But because they watched it, this will change the course of their life. Because they won't lie to themselves anymore. They've been in this situation with this guy who's been giving them the same line for 5 years about, I don't really know what I want, but she stays anyway because she loves him so much. Well, this might be the moment where she watches this video and goes, fuck this. This is not, I'm never again going to stake my life on the idea that this is going to change. Let me find someone who has the same outlook as me, who has the same goals as me. That's why I do what I do, because you can save someone's life by getting them the right message in the right moment. But people need to hear it. And to hear it, they need to know just how high the stakes actually are. There are things that are life and death decisions, not because making the wrong decision will literally kill you, but because it will be the death of the rest of your time in this world. It will be the death of your happiness. It will be the death of your soul. It will be the death of your confidence. And then what is life? What kind of life are we living? If the next 30 years play out with me being unhappy and me not having my needs met, I'm so afraid to leave. Well, be afraid of staying, because what kind of life are you going to have if you stay? The pain that you're in right now, you're going to feel pain either way. Leave or stay, you'll feel pain. You know, you'll feel pain if you leave. You will. You will. It's not you're going to leave and you're going to feel like you've done the wrong thing, and you're going to be lonely, and you're going to feel like you're never going to meet anyone again, and you're going to be heartbroken, you're going to question yourself, you're going to doubt yourself. All of that is true, but you have all this pain staying here anyway. So at least have the pain that's a question mark. This pain is a period. It's not a question mark. At least leaving means possibility. Promise, hope, something different. My God. Be honest with yourself about how miserable something's actually making you. Whilst you're being honest about how much you love someone, about how much you know it's hard to let go, about how much you really care about them, be honest with yourself about how miserable you are too, because that's the part where people lie to themselves. And they lie to their friends and they put on a brave face. How's it going? Oh, it's good, you know. Yeah, everything's going okay. I'm okay. And they're miserable and they're anxious and they're depressed. Don't lie to yourself about that. Fine, give the relationship the honest try. Tell someone what you need. Tell someone what you want it to be. Give your all. See if it can be that. But stop lying to yourself if every time you turn the page, it's the same page of writing.
Dude, that was so passionate and beautiful. Where can people find you? What are you up to these days? Where can people check out all your stuff?
There's a thing that I'm doing right now that a lot of people are really enjoying. I have a 30-day, I suppose, confidence challenge that over 30 days gives people 5 very practical missions that, if they do them, will improve their confidence measurably. At the end of 30 days, you are going to have a renewed sense of empowerment, of confidence.
Wow.
And if you are in a place in your life where you want to get up the confidence to make some key decisions, to start something you've been meaning to start, to end something you've been meaning to end, this is going to build muscle in those 30 days to then go and take on those difficult things. So for anyone who wants to sign up, it's at mhchallenge.com. You can sign up for free, and there's no charge.
Nice.
It's just a 30-day experience for people to come be part of.
Awesome. We'll put the link in the description below. What up, guys? Thanks so much for watching this video. If you'd like another dose of badassery, make sure you watch this video right here, because I know you like it. But hey, also, while you're here, guys, you might as well click that subscribe button down there so you don't miss any future episodes. And of course, until next time, be the hero of your own life. Peace out.